I got asked or headhunted into a recruitment agency. So they said, what you're doing is called online sourcing. That's a skill, and we will pay you money to spy on people and find people for roles. I thought, that's brilliant. Moved into Deloitte, helped set up their online sourcing function, and said, I want to be in the innovation team. And they said, that's great. How about you come up with something a little bit more realistic as a goal? Took that as a challenge. Helped launch their social media, the Green Dot Twitter feed, helped get Yammer up and running properly, and a whole bunch of stuff. And as a result, ended up in the innovation team for a number of years, which was quite possibly the best job in the world. The brief I got given on joining was, it's your job to do every day something that could get you fired and to break the business before someone externally does. I moved back into recruitment, which was stupid, but there was a reason, and it's that I kept seeing these studies that 70-odd% of people are unhappy in their roles. And I thought, well, that's an absolutely stupid way to run a planet. What are we doing? There's a job out there for everyone. Why aren't we giving them to them? Why aren't the businesses working together? And we were, everything's always changing. It's always changing. You've got to change. Everything's changing all the time. So it's fine. We can do this. That's not hard. You just shuffle people around. It's just another piece of change. It turns out it's actually really difficult, and there's a whole bunch of other human factors that go into it. So I've now started up my own consulting business. Full disclosure, I own a recruitment business on the side because that helps pay the mortgage. That means I can pick and choose on the consulting what's actually interesting to me and exciting. As a sourcer, my job was to find people. A recruiter's job was always to find reasons not to hire people. So I'd find reasons to hire them, and I'd find profiles, and this person's perfect, hire them. And they'd say, no, they're useless because they don't have that on their CV. Are you kidding me? And people want to take recruiters, the humans, out of the recruitment mix. As a result, it's nice and easy if you can deal with a machine rather than a person. Right? In the recruitment space, recruiters are horrible, let's replace them. When we look at each of the steps, all of them can and are being automated right now. All of this stuff is stuff that exists. There's dozens upon dozens upon dozens of platforms that sit in each of those spaces. But some really, really cool and interesting things are happening. Now, if I take HireVue in the screening space, they do video interviewing. So they'll, I don't know if anyone's gone through a video interview process where they send you a bunch of questions and you sit down and you answer them by video. What they're doing, though, that's interesting to me, is that they're analysing your face as you do so in real time. And they're coming up with all the biometric points and what's happening. They're probably lying. They probably didn't do that. All that kind of stuff is going on. Candidates don't like that. They don't like being measured on the side when they're not aware of it. So what HireVue did was they sort of took that on board and they said, well, what about if we flip it? And instead, while the hiring manager is reviewing the candidates, we'll video them. And as they're seeing what's going on, seeing the candidates, listening to their answers, they're being analysed, and it's being able to identify biases that are inherent in that person. It's only now that we've got the processing power, we've got the tools and the things that are actually being interesting enough to possibly make a change. Olivia, Maya, they're full life cycle recruiters, basically. They go across the entire thing, replacing a human entirely. Most of you aren't in recruitment, you don't care. But again, we go back to that, what's in it for you and what's in it for the world. Only 6% of people work in the profession that they wanted to be as a child. And I think that we need to change that. But how do we do that? And how do you do that using some of the tools that are out there? So it's important to remember that the best person is not necessarily the best applicant. If you put a job ad up or whatever, you're going to get people who are able to see that at the right time. It's going to come into their network, whatever it might be. And they'll be the best applicant, perhaps. We have to look at skills, culture, the potential impact for someone. This is one of the new metrics that's being thought about in the HR space. If someone comes in, how fast can they actually cause an impact? Are there ways of measuring that from their past experience? What was their internal networking like? Did they have anything in the innovation platforms, in the innovation zones? What did they actually get done? What's the risk of hiring them? And what's their passion? Passion comes up time and time again. John Hagel's work around the passion of the explorer is always fascinating, and how you can harness that within an organisation. And that's particularly important for innovation people, you know, how you harness that passion and get their ideas and move them through to help your business. We have to be able to look at the whole picture, and at the moment, we can't. When I said I owned a recruitment firm on the side, it lets me play with these tools. So this is all stuff that I'm doing with that, and this is all stuff that's available now. So when I put together, or I'll get my team to put together, a profile of someone, this is some of the information, the data points that are available online, some for free, some not, that you can throw on a profile. This is how we interact best with me. It comes from Crystal Knows. Has anyone been playing around with Crystal Knows? Very quick snapshot of someone based on how they've interacted online in the past. You can put it in and you'll get a nice little snapshot, and it'll say, before your meeting, make sure you talk to them in this way, make sure you work with them in this way. There's a fascinating piece called Hiretool. Looks at your peer ranking. How do you rate amongst others in your peer group based on other people's opinions and reviews of you? What's your availability like, and what are your kind of skills? They're not perfect. The people aren't perfect. And when we look at the tools that are available, they're doing a percentage of the job well, but there's big gaps. And it comes down to automation and the moving into the sort of the algorithms and machine learning and yada, yada, yada. I know you've heard it a lot today. But it is making a huge impact. And we, as humans, tend not to understand what that impact's going to be for ourselves. And of course, it's affecting all of us. It's not, you know, it's across the industry. If you look at the recruitment industry, and there is a reason, I promise I'll get to it. If we're looking at the recruitment space, almost $50 billion in a single quarter was being poured into new technology being developed in the US. It's nothing compared to, well, it's not even looking globally. And the technology that's coming out of the US is great. There's more interesting things coming out of Sydney and Melbourne. There's some really fantastic things coming out of Israel. The thing we have that kind of keeps it on the back foot is that in the recruitment industry and in the HR industry, in Australia in particular, there's this desperate race to be second. And it's, you know, you say, well, have you tried using automation to source and screen people? And they say, yeah, but no, we can't do that because give me a case study of where it's worked. I said, well, okay, it's worked perfectly in Jordan here. No, in APAC. Well, CA did it over in Singapore. I said, oh, no, but not in my industry. It's like, okay, this desperate race to show me where it's been done before. That's because HR is completely risk averse. But it causes problems. So this is where it starts becoming a bit more personal, I hope. This is the CV of someone who works in startups and innovation. He showed me his CV, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. If he applied for pretty much any enterprise role, any single one in Australia right now, he wouldn't even get seen. The recruiter wouldn't see them because his CV will not be parsed by the software. It doesn't fit a box. And we end up with a lot of people who, due to the nature of machine learning, especially in HR, people who fit a particular pattern. So we can recognize that someone within the organization has performed well, and we start looking at their background. That becomes an indicator of success in that organization, theoretically. And so you feed that into the system and you say, go out and find me more of those people. But they tend not to have the human factor of being able to understand what the different and interesting things are. They'll find the norm. They'll find the middle. So if you give them things, things that don't impress Shania much, and things that keep her warm at night. There's a famous song about it. Hopefully you all know it. A machine will find Brad Pitt, it'll find whatever it might be, and say it's not that. A human will find the couple of things that are completely off the scale that would never be picked up by an algorithm. If you're looking to hire someone in the next year, 2 years, if you're looking for someone to hire in the innovation space or the creativity space, some tips. Open the box. Go and talk to your recruiter. I know it's a horrible thing to do. buy them a cup of coffee and they'll be willing to talk and explain the process. They'll tell you it's really difficult, and they'll tell you that it's very hard to find people that have the particular skill sets that you're looking for and that no one can do it. When you talk to them and they start bringing you candidates, ensure you're looking at more than just the skills. Look for the cultural fit, because that's how you're going to get the impact, that's how you're going to get longevity. The key to getting there is to understand the work that you do. The more you can atomize what's required of the person that's going to work with you, the more you can understand, well, is it, by breaking it into tasks, the more you can work out, is it actually a permanent person you're looking for? Do I need to hire 3 contractors? Do I need to do that bit as a statement of work, this bit as 2 contractors, and that bit as something out on Freelancer? Actually, can that be done via an algorithm? Understanding that will help get the next step into the future of work for your organisation and find the right people. Being able to understand the task, what you want, being able to put that out in a way that appeals to the human and the computer is really, really important. Make sure that you can actually be found. Highlight your humanity. At the moment, it is still about augmentation rather than artificial in recruitment, and that'll be there for a while. We're using the platforms to augment the searches. But if you can highlight what makes you different as a human, that helps you stand out. Make an impression, and of course, SEO yourselves, which is social ecosystem optimization rather than search engine optimization. That's easy. Be out there in the human capital space, talking to people, the networks. Right now, it is still about who you are and what you know. The final point is ask more questions of your recruitment, of your recruiter, of your human resources. Understand demand answers about what it is that they're doing, what are the black boxes that they have in the process, and be a bit skeptical. I know as innovators we all are naturally skeptical and curious, but actually it's a really interesting space once you get into it. So, go and ask questions.